Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about which is harder, Chinese or Japanese. I get asked this question a lot, seeing as I'm taking them at the same time. And, to be honest, there's no, clear answer to this, and it also depends on the way you learn. And there's also other variables, like the fact that I've been studying Japanese longer, I've lived in Japan, versus I've only been studying Chinese for a year and a half and have not lived in China, so my Chinese ability is way lower than my Japanese ability. However, from where I'm at, I will talk about which I think is personally easier. I think Japanese is easier when it comes to speaking. Obviously, since there's no tones, it makes life a lot easier. There's only a set amount of sounds. I should know how many, but I don't. And they're very easy to pronounce. There's a few that are really, really hard for especially Americans to pronounce, like a few sounds, but you can get by. Meanwhile, Chinese, you've got tones, and if you don't get the tone right, you can totally screw up the sentence and have people really misunderstand you. Like, a few days ago in my Chinese club, one of the members was trying to say another member should switch his major. But instead of saying switch or change, he messed up the tone and said marry, as in marry his language. Not language, marry his major. So it was kind of hilarious, but as you can see, it can be very difficult to really get the tones right. And that's my biggest struggle. I suck so bad at tones, to the point where a lot of Chinese people have no clue what I'm saying. Although I can read and write fairly well in Chinese. When it comes to grammar, I think Japanese is much harder. There's a lot more conjugation. But then again, I have been studying Japanese longer, so it might just be that I haven't studied enough Chinese to get to the point where there's more grammar introduced. But at this point right now, grammar is super easy and a lot more similar to English compared to Japanese to English. So for English speakers, I feel like Chinese grammar is easier to pick up so far. Character-wise, probably, it's Chinese. I have to admit Chinese. I'm learning both simplified and traditional characters because I do plan on living in Taiwan, but my school only teaches in simplified. So because of this, I have to just study traditional on my own. But the thing with Chinese characters is they don't have multiple readings. Like, some of them do, but it's rare. Usually there's only one way to read a character. Unlike Japanese, where there's onyomi and kunyomi, which are two different readings, and then they can have 7 different readings, like the kanji for sun has hi, bi, nichi. It's ridiculous. There's way too many readings for that stupid character. And so when I'm reading a Japanese sentence, I have to look at what's around it and from context to try and figure out which reading it is. And sometimes you can't even do that. Like, if it's a completely new word, you may know what it means from the character because you can figure it out sometimes, but you have no idea how to read it. And it's so frustrating. Because it's why can't you just have the same sound for each character, like Chinese? But on the other hand, Chinese traditional characters are a pain. Japanese uses an odd mixture of traditional and simplified. Like certain characters, like the character for school is the simplified version, so it's the same as simplified Chinese. And same with this character for country is also the same as simplified Chinese. But a lot of other characters are different than simplified Chinese. They're the same as traditional Chinese. So it's a weird mixture. And in that case, I think Japanese is harder. So if you want to speak a language and have a good conversation in the language, I say Japanese is easier. If you want to be able to like read and write things easily and understand stuff better, I say Chinese is easier. So it really depends on what you're looking for in the language. And also, I personally think Chinese is going to become the next business language and eventually overtake English. So I really advocate for people to learn Chinese. It's really fun to learn Chinese and Japanese at the same time because you can see where Japanese got a lot of these characters and ideas from, and sometimes the sounds will be very similar, and it's just really cool. And then when you throw Korean on top of that, which Korean is different, it's very different. I mean, all of these languages are very different, but they also have these similarities that happen when languages are in a close proximity to each other. So yeah, no clear answer, but I get asked this a lot, so I will just show this video to the next person who asks me. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.